So, welcome, Sarah. Tell us, what
Thank
have you
you
been
for
up
such a
to?
lovely introduction. That's very kind of you. It's nice to talk to you again.
Yes, you too.
So the weather here is very bleak and miserly, as we like to say in Cornwall. Um, Spring is on the horizon, I'm told. So hopefully, I'll be able to get out and about in the garden very soon and start the usual cycle of the year: planting, gathering, making, doing all of those things that we haven't been able to do over the winter. So I'm really
The
looking forward.
spring hasn't really come in there yet.
Well, the British weather is you have to go out with an umbrella, a jacket, a pair of sunglasses, and wellies just in case,
Right.
to see what
It's
happens.
it's uh, it's blazing hot here already. We're in the 80s. We're getting up to about 90 degrees Fahrenheit. I don't do um, centigrade, so I can't tell you what the transfer is there, the translation. But yeah, we had a very warm March, and so all the tree pollens came in early and at once. And it
Um,
has been, you would not believe it. They plant all those horrible ornamental pear trees around the Bradford pears. I don't know if you've ever seen those. They're very pretty, but they smell like fish, and they put out tons of pollen. They came out, the cherry blossoms all happened at once, the wisteria all happened at the same time, and the pine trees. So we have pollen as thick as smoke everywhere you look. And it's, I mean,
goodness.
I have not been able to breathe for like 2 weeks. It's just
Yeah.
absolutely horrible. I would love to have some nice Cornwall rain right now.
Yeah, I think I do like to live in the temperate zone. I'm not very good in the hot, melting weather. Because we're on the coast, there isn't a great deal of shade here.
Mhm.
Um, so even though it's quite a small village, we're very exposed. So you just go around the corner and the wind comes straight off the Atlantic.
Right.
And with that comes the rain.
Well, I've never seen your town, but I always picture like Doc Martin's village.
It's not far off, a bit more run down than that, maybe not quite
Okay.
as glamorous, but I do like it here. With it being the bank holiday weekend, we are expecting a lot of tourists very soon. So it's like the end of the line. Everyone gets off here, but then thankfully it's very quiet in the winter. So it's all or nothing, I'm afraid. So yes, but we've got some nice primroses out at the moment. Um, there are, well, everything is growing, isn't it? The chickweed and the cleavers, all of those traditional spring herbs are out and about in abundance. Um, so yeah, I'm looking forward to getting out. I haven't been out properly to have a good look yet, but
You know, I don't think in America we use a lot of primrose. It's an herb I like a lot. Tell us a little bit about how you use primrose.
To be honest, I've used it before in creams, really. There's a lot of folklore around primroses. But they once you see them, you know that spring is here. If you know what I mean. It's not one that I use much in the dispensary, but it's more of a sign that spring is on the way.
Mhm.
Uh, so yeah, I must admit I don't use it very much medicinally.
I've used it a few times. It's a little bit like lady slipper, and it has that slight sedative effect. And of course, we don't touch the lady slippers around here anymore. They got far over harvested. I know where a beautiful patch of pink lady slippers are up on the back of a mountain, and I don't tell anybody where it is because if I did, the poachers would be out like crazy.
Do you know, I've got to admit, this is one of the issues that we are having at the moment. Is It's really great that people are becoming more aware of herbal medicine and foraging and things, but patches that I've known have been there for years, you will go and they will just be pillaged.
Mm,
And you know it's been pillaged because it's a section which is about arm height and particularly elderflower, and there's a band that's just gone, and you know all the tops of the trees are perfectly fine because nobody can get up there. And it's a shame really because people don't tend to leave much for others.
yeah, that's
Um,
true. Yeah,
but
especially elders become so popular.
because we're such a small town, everybody kind of knows where the little spots are. And I had this interesting conversation actually the other day with the gentleman in the health food shop who is an independent health food shop. I've known them for a number of years, and they're lovely people, and they always support my business. Um, And I went in the other day and there were 3 pictures of herbalists up on the wall. I was like, oh my goodness, I'm not the only one anymore, which is really exciting. It's really brilliant to have more people to talk about herbs with. Um, but it's becoming more of a trend, isn't it? Have you noticed in where
Hmm.
you are? Um, there are more colleges popping up. When I really feel quite old when I think about it. There was no internet when I did my herbal degree. I think it was DOS 2.0. The old,
Right.
we didn't even have Microsoft Word. So everything we learned was either out of a book or from somebody that was a practitioner and taught us. And we literally had to go and look it up, go and find out, go and find the plant and identify it ourselves. There were no apps to help us do that.
Right.
And it was a matter of, get it out of the ground, prepare it, make it, and do it yourself. And I do feel that some of that is being lost now because there is a lot of online courses. Again, there's pros and cons, isn't there? Um, but I am finding that some of the skill is being lost, and some of the old herbs that are not quite as popular. For example, I used to use a lot of borage. That's one of the herbs now that we're not supposed to be using. Um, so I don't prescribe it anymore. But for myself, I've been brought up with that plant, and I use it quite. I've become friends with it. Those kinds of plants are falling out of fashion, and it's a
Forage
shame.
is such a nice thing to do.
Oh, it's so beautiful, the colour of the flowers, and you see it on rubbish dumps, don't you? It's just there,
Oh,
there you are surviving. And we've
and
got some in our
the
garden.
lore, it stirs up battle for frenzy, or what is it? Courage. It increases
Forage
courage.
brings
That's what it
courage.
is.
Yeah,
But it's
yeah.
also just really nice for people who have melancholia.
Yes, and I think as well, if you taught with skill and you taught to do it cautiously and under proper, you know, you're not going to go wrong because you know how to use that plant. Whereas I think sometimes there is a disconnect between knowing about a plant and having a practical use of it, and tasting it and experimenting on yourself with some of these things. I feel I don't wish this to be a negative conversation, but the world of supplements now is kind of also becoming very shiny, and some of the things that we've traditionally prescribed are my little brown bottle maybe doesn't
Mm.
look quite as nice as the branding on the shelf, and it's more tempting and much more expensive.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, I made up a liniment the other day, and it works so well. It's using hops bud, and hops bud topically works just like hemp oil basically, and some arnica and a few different things in there. And I'm like, this, I was having a little arthritis in my hands. I'm a wood carver. Put it on, stopped immediately, right? And I thought, boy, I really ought to sell this. And then I thought, but then I'm going to have to print labels. I mean, those labels are going to have to compete with everybody else's. It's like the old comfrey salves that I used to put together and just put in a little old, little, one of those little tiny jam jars, basically. It's like, people are going to look at that and think it's not quality because it doesn't look professional.
Well, actually, I find more and more I am veering back towards the analog world, and I'm not making things to sell them. I'm making them so that I've got them in my dispensary for people that need them. And I had a conversation with another friend of mine who's a chiropractor recently, and she said, "Oh, I've been knocked off #1 on Google in Newquay," and I said to her, yes, but Sadie, you've still got the best practice going. You've got a queue outside of your door because everybody knows you through word of mouth. Why are you wasting your money on all of this shiny website when everybody knows to go to you if they need the back sorting? And the guy that I see for acupuncture as well, he doesn't have a website, and yet you can never get an appointment with him. So I do feel that the word of mouth is the best way, isn't it? I'm quite lucky to say that because we do live in a small place. If I was in a big town, maybe that would be a different issue.
Right.
But yeah, and even thinking about maybe doing some correspondence courses, the old-fashioned get it in the post and you do your homework and send it off, and that kind of thing is appealing to me, I feel, more and more. So one of the benefits of the online world is that it does make you value the old ways.
Absolutely, especially with all this artificial intelligence. I mean, you don't even know if you're talking to a real person, and I think that's very frightening when it comes to like herbal medicine. I mean, and with the phone apps and such, they're convenient, but they're not always that accurate. I mean, so we got about this time of year, the ramps or ramsons will be coming in, and I absolutely love the wild garlic, wild leeks. Love those things. And so I go out in the woods and harvest. Oftentimes, lily of the valley will be growing right beside it. And in about the first week of April, they look identical. So, I mean, I'm thinking somebody could be out there with their cell phone using an app, and it's going to tell them lily of the valley is a ramp. And of course, they're both going to have little bulbs on the end, and they're going to pick it up and they're going to eat it, and their heart's going to stop.
Well, I mean, this is from somebody that is a professional person with 20 years plus experience. I went out harvesting wild garlic with my husband, and one of my friends walked past and I stopped to chat to her, and when I looked in the basket later on and I said, you've not picked that one quite as carefully as the others, and if I hadn't have checked that basket, I could have eaten that because I was so busy chatting away. I wasn't looking what my husband was pulling up and putting in the basket. God love him. Because I don't think people are aware of the dangers. It's a double-edged sword, isn't it? Either herbal medicine doesn't work and it's a load of rubbish, or, oh my goodness, somebody's really been injured by this now, and there's no kind of middle path, is there? I just think the respect maybe has gone a little bit, and people think that they can pillage and take what they like, and not always be quite so careful, because nature is benign and beautiful, and we're all skipping along down the garden path, wherever that may lead. So, yeah, it's easy to do, isn't it?
Yeah. Tell me what's going on with your. You've been writing some really interesting articles the past little bit. What was the last one? The witches. What was that?
It was purely by chance. I went to a meeting from the old Cornwall Society, and I thought, there won't be many people there, and it was packed. The room was packed to the rafters, and it was about a book that had been written by a gentleman in the 1800s who was local to our village, who gathered up stories about herbalists about folk tales, about tittle-tattle and gossip from the villages that was going on. And one of the stories, I thought the moral of it was quite interesting, and it was really about some money that had gone missing. And you know how the gossip starts. Oh, I heard such and such a person say it was here, and such a person said it was there. So anyway, the long and short of it, whether it's a true tale or not, is it's a, you know, a fairy story to tell children to keep them out of the woods, sort of thing. The story goes that they brought this lady back to life to ask her where this missing money had gone, but it was all a bit of a hoax, and she was also trying to con these people out of money by saying, I know where it is. And the gentleman who was pretending to have been revived miraculously from the churchyard turned out to be the husband, and it all became a debacle, which of course they wanted to hush up, because this lady had a very fine reputation about being able to tell fortunes and you know, heal people and all of this, and she did not want her story to get out. So between the three of them, they've agreed, well, let's just tell people that we do know where the money is, and whoever's got the money better hand it back quickly, because otherwise they're going to get their comeuppance. And of course everybody in the village believes this, and it's, oh, I know where the money is, I'll give you the money back. So it kind of works out in the end anyway. And I quite like these stories, because again, it's not the sort of thing that AI can make up, and there's always a good moral to the tale at the end, and there's usually a good herbal story along the way. So I attended this meeting and I thought that's quite interesting. So I went to the local library, and they managed to find the actual book and dig it up from the archives. And it's quite difficult to read because it is in old dialect. So I thought it might make an interesting story, because it's one that's not been, well, it's been hidden in an archive for goodness knows how long, and I thought it'd be quite nice to share it as a story. So I do tend to have a bit of everything on my Substack. I like a good old yarn. I like some history. I like herbal folklore, but then there's also the professional side of things, which is to say, yes, herbalists are all of these things, and this is why we love plants, because they're so fascinating and interesting. But also, I would like to add something to the pot. And people think that herbal medicine lives in the 1800s, and it's not. It's a modern day, ever growing, ever changing, evolving tradition that we're all sharing with one another, which is one of the reasons why I love coming onto your podcast and talking with you about the plants that grow in your area, because every time I speak with you, I'd learn something new. And that's the business that we're in, isn't it? Sharing our knowledge, hopefully handing it down to other people, and protecting that in the best way that we can. So I try to do everything. I really enjoy writing. I like writing. I like telling stories.
You're good at it.
Oh, well, that's kind of you to say so, because I don't feel like many people read it sometimes. It can be a bit off the wall. But I do it because I enjoy it, and I think those are the kinds of Substacks that I like to read and listen to, are the ones where you can tell that the person that is behind the screen really loves what they do, and are passionate about that. And there are a lot of really good authors on this platform that do that really well. So I feel quite pleased that people would bother to take a look at mine, you know.
Oh, no, it's really good. I always recommend it. And when you said it was story kind of warn children about going in the woods, it reminded me, we share a tradition, the English and Appalachian Americans, of murder ballads. You know, the old songs about all the killings and everything. My guy I learned music from, he always said that was ancient contraception. Don't go off with that.
Yes.
Don't go off with Blackjack Davy. Don't go, look out for Barbara Allen.
Well, it's so funny, because even when we were very little, we used to have a train track behind the back of our house. And the story was, when the train went past it, everybody had to be off the ground, because otherwise this little man would come out and get you at night time. And even now, when a train comes past, you have this automatic like, oh, like you would never do it as a grown adult, like jump onto a wall or something. But because you did it so often as a child, that instinct is there, isn't it, inside you to
Well, we have the weirdest phenomenon around here. They're called the Brown Mountain Lights, and no one has ever explained them. Essentially, on a summer night, these lights will just rise up from the ground and move all around the valley, and they'll shoot off this way and shoot off that way and come back down. Scientists have tried to figure it out. It's, we're in the mountains, so it's not swamp gases. Um, it could be like, we also have a lot of the jack-o'-lantern mushrooms that glow in the dark. Maybe, some kind of reflection from some quartz over here or something. Could have been moonshiners up to, doing funny things to scare people off, but nobody can explain it. And
have
it's
you
been
seen them?
documented since Native American times. So it's really it can really creep you out.
Oh, you must do a program on that. Have you ever seen them?
Yes, but not to the extent that many people have. Many people would go out there and just wait and watch. I mean, I'll drive by the overlook sometimes and see something off to the side and think, oh, that must be what it is. But I haven't really gone looking for it.
Yeah.
I have a policy. I don't go looking for trouble.
Good policy. Yeah.
It's like people always ask me, why aren't you interested in aliens? I'm like, I don't want to know if they're out there. If they're out there, they can be out there. They haven't bothered me to this point. They're not going to bother me to the after.
We'll just stick to our little patch of the
Exactly.
world these days.
And what also came to mind was an old episode of Last of the Summer Wine. There was
You like those programs?
oh, I love that show. That's my when I want to relax, I put on Last of Summer Wine. There was a character called Old Betsy Trumfleet, and she was the witch lady out in the little, dilapidated cabin, and she comes out all hunched over with her cigarette. What do you want? Really, we had characters like that in the mountains. We had a witch woman named, well, I better not say her name because her family members may not like it. But when my old friend Ray Hicks was dating these two young ladies, both named Rosie, something like that. And he went to her and asked which one he should marry. She took two sticks, and well, three sticks actually. She put the one that was him, put it in the middle, and put the others on either side, and said, "This is one girl, and this is the other." Set his on fire. She said, "Whichever stick rolls toward you, that's the one you should marry."
Wow.
And he did, and he married. Well, it actually turned out the other one was her great niece, and she didn't want him having anything to do with her.
Oh.
She probably put like a little rock or something in between.
Oh, I do love all these stories.
Tell me about the professional side. We should talk about that. What are you seeing people ordering right now? What and consulting? What are they in need of?
That's a good question. I think, well, it is kind of hay fever season, but I always try to every year say to people, don't wait until hay fever season to do something about it. You have to start before and do the preventative bits. But still, every year people think, oh, it'll be fine, and then, of course, the deluge comes, and it's quite difficult to treat once it's in full flow. So there's the typical hay fever thing, which always comes around year after year. Um,
And what do you recommend? Nettles or
to be honest, I tend to find it's a lot to do with people's gut health and the microbiome. And I feel like if they eating all and feasting over winter and not looking after yourself, when the summertime comes round, your tank is already full up, isn't it? It's like the bathwater is there, and it only needs that little bit extra to go too high. But really, what they should be doing is pulling the plug out before, so they've got plenty of room to um, to enjoy, to enjoy themselves rather than leave things to the last minute. So, and again, it's very individual, isn't it? As you well know, I would never want to say one thing for somebody. Some people have very dry mucous membranes. Other people are streaming. Some people it's their eyes.
mm-hmm.
I mean, bilberry is very good for your eyes and your eyesight, isn't it? But it's not going to do very much if you're in full flow of of hay fever season, and I tend to get people coming and asking about things that they've bought over the counter sometimes, and then wondering why they're not working. And you do feel like saying to people, it's just such a false economy, and especially the price of supplements now, the cost of them. Just check with a herbalist before you buy anything. I'm not saying to somebody, don't go and support my lovely friends at the local health food shop, but make sure you get the advice that you need before you just go and buy something that's not going to be useful for you. So yeah, I'm actually, I suppose I've been taking a little bit of a step back from the clinic at the moment because I've been working a little bit with Lucy Jones. Do you know that wonderful lady? She's the self-sufficient herbalist. She has very kindly been sharing some of her professional knowledge, and I've been lucky enough to go and spend some time at her clinic, which again, it's one thing, isn't it? I trained over 20 years ago, and we're still learning from people, but I don't really want to sit any more exams at this time in my life. It's really refreshing to just be in a group of herbalists sharing knowledge and making things together without competition, without trying to outdo one another, just really genuinely coming together as a group of interested professionals to share what we know. So I've really been enjoying that at the moment and taking a bit of a step back from business.
And tell us a little bit about Lucy Jones. I know a little bit about her. She's the one that's really into like growing and using everything around, not buying stuff, not ordering from, and making everything yourself, right?
She's such a wonderful, kind lady, and she's so generous with her knowledge. She is pretty much self-sufficient in everything that she grows and makes. So quite often I have questions and I'll go and ask her. I'm very lucky actually. In fact, I was reading again on Substack the other day, somebody's post about teachers and mentors and people that we're very lucky to have crossed paths with. She's definitely one of the people that I'd look up to and would ask questions of if I got stuck. Another person, well, it's quite interesting. When I was very small, we used to go and see a herbalist called Mr. Abbott, Abbott's of Lee, and it's a really old, but it was busier than the GP office. You would have builders in there, you would have babies, you would have people, hairdressers. It was, again, you were very lucky to get an appointment, and this is in the days before the internet. And when I went to study at college as a student in my first year, one of our teachers was working in that clinic at the time, and because it was like my family's herbal practice, they were so open, sharing us, this is how we record things, this is how we label our tinctures, this is how we press things, this is how we know if it smells right, or or if it's gone off. And the knowledge that they were sharing, they were so open and generous. I feel very lucky that I was able to visit that practice, and I think that was one of the inspirations for me becoming a herbalist actually. And then another lady here in Cornwall who's, if you met her, you would not mess about. She's quite an eccentric lady, but by goodness does she know her stuff. And there's no, this is how we do it. This is how we. And she had a practice here in Truro, but once a month she would go off to Africa and work in the villages, helping with babies and pregnant women, and just supplying herbs and things to them. And she would say, come and help me out while I'm off doing these things. And so generous with the knowledge. I really hope that I can be one of those herbalists where I'm not sort of shielding things and keeping things secret from everybody. I don't own herbal medicine, and it's not mine to own. But then at the same time, it's nice to have your own little formulas, isn't it? That are just your. So I'm very cagey today. I'll say one thing and then say something else 10 minutes later.
Well, we have this debate all the time here in America because a lot of people want to create a licensure program where you would have to go to certain schools and you would have to pass certain tests and you would have to join the association. And they think if they do that, we can get respect from doctors and we can get more laws in our favor from government. And I'm absolutely opposed to it because it removes all of that. It removes all of our folk traditions. I mean, there are certain, native tribes here that, well, the Muskogee come to mind. Wonderful tradition of herbal medicine. The guy's name is Tismal Crow, and he's written one of the best Native American herbal books I've ever seen. They only use about 15 herbs. I mean, their entire system of herbal medicine is like 15 herbs. And they have all these different uses and formulas they make out of them. If we had that strict licensure program, he would never qualify because, he learned from what he calls a medicine man that came before him. It's a complete folk tradition. And he doesn't use any of the herbs that grow in my area. Well, a few of them, birch trees and such, he does that. But he doesn't use like most of the herbs that are probably common in your practice. He uses herbs that grow in his specific location and have been used, for hundreds of years by that tribe. He would never qualify under that program and be able to be a practicing herbalist. And he's one of the best there is.
Yeah. It just makes it so elitist, doesn't it? And it's I don't. Herbal medicine doesn't fit into a box.
Right.
Well, it's not a box I want to be in. It's almost like in the old days, isn't it, where they wouldn't let women go to university, and all the midwives and their knowledge became sort of had to be, traditional and passed down because it was taken over by the colleges. And I think, if Culpeper was alive now, do you think he would go to university college? You know what I mean? And like you say, all of this beautiful, wonderful tribal knowledge that's passed down orally, it's probably not written in any books anywhere because they just know it. It's part of their tradition and culture. And isn't it? It's very arrogant, isn't it, to just go in and say, well, we must have this checked
I think
off.
so. And Culpeper, what a great example.
I don't want to be play the devil's advocate, but I can see why some people who are very passionate want it to be taken seriously, and they do want to have that recognition, and rightly so. But I think sometimes there are two kinds of herbalists, aren't there? Even within our own world, the very traditional people that have just been taught as they go, and then other people that have specifically sought out that training and gone down the certification route. And I think there's room for everybody, isn't there? Some people might not like my practice because they might think it's too quaint or too traditional, or not agree with the fact that I like telling stories about things, whereas other people might really gravitate to that. I think there's a herbalist for everyone, isn't there? There's a practitioner for everyone, and we've all got our ways. And I don't think I would like to fit into a box anyway. Not that kind of herbalist.
Well, I think you brought up Culpeper, and what a great example, because he got in trouble for translating the Apothecary books from Latin into English.
That's kind of what I was thinking when I was saying that. I know it's like, oh no, you mustn't tell them our secrets.
Yeah, that was the issue with Paracelsus as well. He had the temerity to, when he was teaching at universities, he would allow tuition-paying students to come sit in the class, and then he would teach in colloquial German as opposed to Latin. And of course, what do you do when in the 1500s? Well, I think it was what? Yeah, it was about 1500s. When someone does that, you accuse them of witchcraft and try to kill them.
Oh dear. I think that there's room for all of us, isn't there, at the end of the day? And I think if we didn't share this knowledge, where would we be? I wouldn't be a herbalist if those people hadn't been kind enough to share that knowledge with me. So I kind of feel like I've got a bit of a duty to share it back. I do put most of my professional stuff behind a paywall. The reason being that I think that if people are serious about practicing and they want to do things diligently, then it is a commitment to study, and that knowledge did cost me quite substantially financially to do 5 years at the College of Naturopathic Medicine on top of my other things as well, and we've got to make a living. So I do justify it in that way, but also because I think some of the professional questions that I get behind the paywall are not generally for the public domain. Some of the herbs that are discussed and we talk about are for people that already have a good sort of working background knowledge of things, rather than a kit. Not that I'm trying to keep it separate, but if you are sort of treating people on a low key level with kitchen remedies, which can be quite powerful, as we know, it's a different thing, isn't it, than actually dispensing medicines to people who are coming and seeking help for something that is potentially more chronic or serious. And so that is the reason why I do that. But apart from that, I do enjoy writing. It's not really something that I do for a financial gain.
I don't think there's any. I mean, I have no problem with people making money with their knowledge. That's how I make my money. But I also think when okay, it's an old thing of like, if you go into a store and say there's something you want to buy. Let's say it's this cup, right? This is this little mug here, and it's priced at $2. Someone's going to look at it and say, oh, okay, maybe. Price it at $10, they're going to buy it.
Mm-hmm.
People value things because they think they're valuable. It's all. I mean, what is a dollar or a pound note really? It's a piece of paper.
Yeah.
We give it value because it represents a unit of our time, a unit of our effort, a unit of our knowledge, and that really is worth something. And so I think when we undervalue what we do, we give people the impression that what we have isn't really worthwhile.
That's true. My friend, who is a good colleague, she's actually divorced now from this man, but at the time he was quite a well-off millionaire, and he was quite kind to me and gave me some business advice when I first started out, which I've always remembered. And I said to him, what should I charge for my services? And straight away he said, the price is what you say it is.
Yep.
That is the price. People pay it or they don't. That's it. That's all you need to know. And then it comes down to your own value, doesn't it? What do you value? And again, people
Well,
say,
and also you have limited time and resources too. You can't let you can't let yourself be swamped and exhausted.
no. But also, I would give this advice to anybody else that is starting out, that if you do price yourself or undercut the price of other practitioners, then you're not doing yourself any favors, because people will not potentially not take your advice in the belief that it's not maybe, oh well, I only paid that, so I might or I might not do it. Because with herbal medicine, as you well know, it's not just about taking the herb, is it? You have to also act and make changes to your mental attitude, your lifestyle, your diet, all of these other things if you want to be truly well and healthy. And I think if we disrespect the herbs and the plants in that way by giving them away for free or being too cheap with our knowledge, it does kind of undervalue the work that we've done.
Have you noticed since England's gone on national health? Have you noticed people's attitudes change towards what's the word? Whatever you call. Oh, what's that word everybody uses? It's like allopathy. No, that's not it. There's some word that they use for doctors in traditional, not traditional, modern medicine, as opposed to traditional herbal medicine. It's escaping me right now. Have you noticed people's attitudes changing any toward that, since they don't really pay out of pocket anymore?
I think it used to be the case, but now, because the waiting lists are so long, people are not prepared to wait, and they are realizing that if they want to have good healthcare, sometimes they do have to pay for these things. And also people are finding that because they don't have the time, the doctors don't have time to really delve into how they reach that current circumstance, that they are not getting the answers that they are seeking, and so are looking for alternative practices. There's a big move at the moment, a huge move towards nature medicine, which I feel is an attempt to take pressure off the NHS and place some responsibility on people for their own health and well-being, which is to say, you know, before you see the doctor, have you done X, Y, and Z? Are you getting, you know, the simple things. When was the last time you went outside? Some people don't get any fresh air. They don't even open the window, and then they wonder why they're ill. You know, that
Yeah,
fresh air is free. Are you getting fresh air? Oh no, I didn't think about that. Like somebody came to me the other day and they said, "Oh, I don't have time to sit in the garden and eat and drink a cup of tea." And I kind of felt like saying, "Well, isn't that really missing the point?
right, right.
Like you can have a cup of tea inside. Why can't you have a cup of tea outside?
Yeah.
Just go and sit on your step. Get, you know, open your window a little bit." So going back to the NHS, I think people are starting to realise now that the pill for an ill approach does not work. People have to take some responsibility for their own well-being. They have to, you know, get fresh air. They have to be going to the toilet every day. You know, why aren't you? I mean, why aren't you going to the toilet every day? Why are you getting bunged up? Well, maybe you're not eating as well as you could do. Yes, it's expensive. Everybody knows that the cost of food is expensive. However, I we have a box scheme at our work, which is that we have a little farm which is attached to our practice, and they do veg bags, and they have discounted schemes for people that are, you know, not working or are not on a good wage. There are vouchers that are available for people, and I think actually doctors are starting to give out things now, like maybe it's not the greatest thing, but you know, Slimming World vouchers to help people to try to lose a bit of weight, or looking at other methods. They're not always the best methods, but they are incentives for people to begin to take responsibility for themselves rather than place the problems on the state and say, you know, help me. What can I do?
I hope that's going to be the case here. When Obamacare, it has not worked out very well. It was, I think, essentially designed to crash the system and replace it with a socialized medicine, and it's been pretty darn effective at crashing the system. Um, and like, okay, so I broke a tooth last spring, and I was on a waiting list for so long. It was August before I could get the tooth pulled. And by that time, I didn't have a choice because it had gotten so infected. And I only got the appointment then because I was friends with the dental surgeon, and he got me, you know, in the back door essentially. Um, so wait times have become, but for some reason, well, I know why. It's profit, because we're in this quasi system. We're in the failing of Obamacare. We are not yet into the next phase of whatever's going to happen. Doctors put everybody on what they call well checks. So they want you coming in like every month for a checkup, for a checkup, for a checkup. We're going to maintain your health. Every time you come in, you're getting put on more blood pressure medications, heart medications, diabetes medications, and now it's just Ozempic and weight loss drugs.
Oh, that is a
And
thing. Oh yes, same here.
and I mean they're making a fortune, and the insurance companies are making a fortune by keeping people constantly in
Yeah.
doctors' waiting rooms. And you don't get good care. You know, they're cycling you out. You know, you might get 5 minutes with a doctor. That's what you're going to get, right? But you're leaving there with prescriptions for just handfuls of pills. It's insane. And we're seeing it in our water supply. Municipal water is just full of medications that are just, you know, getting flushed down the toilet and not, you know, not being filtered out. And it's really getting quite scary. We're seeing, you know, young boys growing breasts because of all the birth control that's in the water. Um, uh, a lot of obesity also for that reason. All the artificial estrogens that are in the water. And of course, the diet's just horrible. I mean, if you live on McDonald's, you know what's going to happen. But you know, now we got this, you know, Bobby Kennedy Jr. He's trying to reform things, and I mean, the medical establishment is fighting him tooth and nail.
Yeah, I have seen a little bit of that. It's there's no incentive anywhere in the world for preventative medicine.
Right.
And yet, actually, if people were well, you know, the knock-on effect it has on society, it has on businesses, it has on, you know, the amount of money that the NHS is spending at the moment on just firefighting, really. It is, I agree with you, it's very, very scary. And when I first started my course, I laughed actually, and now I cringe when I think about that reaction. We had a really lovely German naturopath who taught us, and there were only 4 of us in the class, and we were quite young girls at the time, not 18, 19. You know, full of, oh, look at us, how cool we are doing, you know, this amazing course. And he said, you need to take this seriously, because this information that I'm going to tell you is going to save your life. And, you know, we all thought, you know, yeah, like young and naive. And when I think back to that now, I think, my goodness, aren't we lucky to have had that information passed on to us, you know? Because also, which is another scary thing, that information is slowly being hidden away, isn't it? For
Well,
want of a better, and you know where I'm going with that. So I think
and
part of my reason for writing is that rebellious streak in me that wants to write about borage when it's a banned herb, or,
right.
you know. But,
Yeah, the other thing that's so troubling around here is what they're doing to the kids. I mean, they say basically 70% of Americans are on medication for anxiety and depression. When it comes to kids, they're not all, the numbers are actually higher because the way things are doing things, but also all this medication for ADD, ADHD, and all that. And then they're actually surprised when one of them like flips out and goes and shoots somebody, shoots up a school. Well, every time they've all been on psychiatric medication, very heavy psychiatric medication. And there's no one looks at the root causes of illness. And it has so much to do with lifestyle, and it has so much to do with family relationships and all that. They just want to throw pills at it.
mm, it's very hard. I think these weight loss things as well at the moment are a little bit worrying to me. Um, because it's almost like there's a pressure for people to take them as well, rather than again make the changes for a healthier option. I just find it quite the world is just changing so rapidly, isn't it? These kinds of things weren't problems when we were young. Um,
Nobody was fat when we were young. I mean, there was occasionally, somebody overweight, but most people were rather thin in comparison.
yeah. But it's like you say, these are all this level of stress and cortisol that is zooming around everybody's bodies nowadays, the sedentary lifestyle of people, the fact that even when you do have healthy food, the soil quality is crap. So even the organic food is nowhere near as good as it used to be, through nobody's fault of their own. You go outside and talking about fresh air. How fresh is the fresh air that we're breathing? You know, and it's things that we're powerless to do, and it makes me feel quite frustrated that we can only do the best that we can, but it's against a rising tide of difficulties that, once they stack up one on top of the other, become, for some people, quite insurmountable. That's why I feel our profession is so invaluable. In fact, the guy who I go to see for acupuncture, he used to be a GP. He used to work in the NHS. And I said to him, "What made you become an acupuncturist?" And he said, "I just was sat in the office one day and I looked out of the window at a cow eating some grass." And he said, "I felt jealous." And he just got up and walked out the office and left, never went back, trained to be an acupuncturist. And he said, I don't earn as much money now, but I'm much happier.
Yeah. Well, I think that's where people get so confused. I mean, our economy is essentially based on debt. Everything in it is encouraging you to take on more and more debt. I
Mm,
mean, tuitions here, I don't know what it's like in England, but I mean, 50 to $100,000 a year, easy, just to go to a state university. I mean, we're not
yeah.
even talking like Oxford or something. We're talking like a state university. It's crazy. So by the time you get out of there, you're saddled with $150,000 worth of debt before you even have your first real decent paying job.
Mm.
And then the price of cars has tripled in the past 10 years. Housing prices have doubled. Everybody's on credit cards. And what people need to realize is, one, that college degree you get may not be what you do for a living. And it may be a worthless degree that you're paying for in the first place. If you go in and it's like, interpretive dance and you paid 200 grand to get a degree in interpretive dance, you're not going to make that money back. Okay. So we need to get more into this idea of thinking, well, really, what is my time worth? Because that's what your money is. And I want to be outside. I want to go for a walk. I want to take a slower pace at life. It's not worth the change of my lifestyle to work in an office job. But people don't think that way yet. Hopefully we can encourage them.
It's changing. I suppose I see it differently here in Cornwall, because our town is it's a funny old place, really. A lot of people come here to escape their problems because they come here on holiday and then they just don't go home. But then they realise there aren't many jobs, it's a totally different culture. You come from the city for a break and then you come here and somebody actually said to me the other day, can you tell me where the high street is? And I said, this is it. You're standing in it now. It's here. There's not many shops, there are not many jobs, but there's a different kind of attitude. So one of my friends owns like a tapas restaurant, and it's only very little. It's really just one room, but she's busy all day. She has a queue outside, and when my family came on holiday, I took them to go and have a meal at the tapas restaurant, and I said, and bless him, my dad, he's always been like a businessman, and he's really into sort of, standing on your own 2 feet, and he loves it when he can see somebody making money. And he said to this young girl, oh, you need to get another room, don't you, so you can fit all of these people in. And actually, I felt quite proud. She turned around, she said, why would I do that? Because she's doing what she loves every day, and that's what she can cope with. She's got a queue outside. She doesn't need, go bigger. It's this idea, isn't it, that you're not successful unless you've got 100 chains of something, or that's not what success measures to me. Success measures to me that I get up in the morning and I don't have a pit of anxiety in my stomach, or I might worry about things, of course. Everybody's got problems, haven't they? I'm not saying that my life is perfect, but I'm very fortunate, and again, I have to say this because not everybody is in the same boat as me, that I don't have a lot of debt, or, everybody's got, you've got a mortgage and things that go on, that it's sort of unavoidable expenses. But I've always thought I'm never going to be a high flyer, even though I was pushed to sort of be that when I was younger, to go for the top academic things, because I'd just burn out. I wouldn't have any resilience to be able to do it. I'd last a year and I'd be ill, because I can't sustain that sort of lifestyle. And I think once you recognise that in yourself and you learn to live within your bandwidths, you can, it's like the musical notes, isn't it? Stay inside your little harmony, but as soon as you start going outside and playing the bigger instruments, you're getting yourself into a world of trouble, because it's just not sustainable. So I've kind of come to the conclusion now, I'm never really going to be a millionaire being a herbalist, but I like my life and I'm all right with that,
Absolutely. And well, the more money you make, the more tax forms you have to fill out, and that's no fun.
The more people you have to employ, the more things you have to worry about.
Exactly. Well, I guess we're coming up on about an hour, so we'll go ahead and wrap it up here. Tell us everything people need to know, your contact information, what you're doing, what they can expect, how to get in touch with you, websites, whatever you got to sell, go ahead and pitch it.
That's really kind of you. So yeah, I am on Substack writing my stories and doing my clinical herbal cases. So you can find me at the Herbalist's Diary. I do have a website which is for my services, and I also sell sausage tree cream on there, which I'm sure will raise a hoot when people hear that name. Again, I was very, very fortunate with that formula. One of my wonderful mentors, who I met on a trip to the UK, brought with her loads of sausage tree cream and some percolators and different things to make it with, and couldn't take it back on the plane, and just gifted it to me. And I thought, well, what on earth am I going to do with this? Who's going to buy sausage tree cream? And I never marketed it, I never sold it, but weirdly, it's now one of my best sellers, and people say, Gaza, have you got some sausage tree cream? So I do sell sausage tree cream on my website, which is really helpful for eczema and skin conditions. So if you are a person that suffers with poor skin health, then that's my sort of bread and butter of what I do most days in the herbal practice, as well as help people with anxiety. So yes, that's on my website, which is alchemilla.co, not .com or .co.uk. Don't ask me why I decided to go with that domain name. And I have also written a book about iridology, which is a kind of an off-piste project that I did over lockdown, because I had hundreds and hundreds of photographs of people's eyes. My former teacher was an iridologist, and he was quite interested in eye diagnosis and passed that on to us. It wasn't sort of part of our course, but we all did it anyway. So I thought I'd write a book about that to see if there was any clinical evidence for it. So there is a book about iridology, if that is of interest to anybody who is interested in face reading and that kind of thing.
Great. Well, it's always great to talk with you. We'll have to do this again. Maybe we can do it annually this from now on. And yeah, keep us posted on what's going on. If you need new ideas or new projects, and you want to come back on for a few minutes, it doesn't have to be a whole long interview if you don't have much time. Just let me know. And like I said, always a pleasure.
And you too. Thanks for having me on. I just love talking with you. It's so inspirational to hear what's going on in the other side of the world. This is quite a small town here, so it's quite nice to be in the wide world, finding out what other herbalists are doing on the other side of the globe.
Oh yeah, I feel the same way. Well, y'all, now wrap up this show. Have a great week, and I'll talk to you next time.
Oh yes, happy Easter, Judson. Have a lovely weekend.
You as well. Thank you.
Take
Happy
care.
Easter.
Bye-bye.
The information in this podcast is not intended to diagnose or treat any disease or condition. Nothing I say or write has been evaluated or approved by the FDA. I'm not a doctor. The U.S. government does not recognize the practice of herbal medicine, and there is no governing body regulating herbalists. Therefore, I'm really just a guy who studies herbs. I'm not offering any advice. I won't even claim that anything I write or say is accurate or true. I can tell you what herbs have been traditionally used for. I can tell you my own experience and if I believe an herb has helped me. I cannot nor would I tell you to do the same. If you use an herb anyone recommends, you are treating yourself. You take full responsibility for your health. Humans are individuals and no two are identical. What works for me may not work for you. You may have an allergy, a sensitivity, an underlying condition that no one else even shares and you don't even know about. Be careful with your health. By continuing to listen to my podcast or read my blog, you agree to be responsible for yourself, do your own research, make your own choices, and not to blame me for anything ever.